Part 16. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, She is Soft and Sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 151. Chapter 151 I Forgive You. Come with me, Mr. Xie said with a cold face, and then said to the housekeeper, Take Miss Shen to the front first, and call me over by the way. Xie Chenai felt increasingly unsure. But Shen Nei I saw something was wrong, squeezed her hand, and then left first with the housekeeper. The eldest man of the Xie family, Xie Xing, was greeting the guests. When he heard that the old man was looking for him, he frowned slightly, then left the guests and hurried to the tea house. At the same time, Lu Yu was also invited back to the tea room. Dad, what did girl you do to make you angry? I will punish her well when I get back. Today is your birthday. Don't let her affect today's birthday banquet. Xie Xing noticed something was wrong with the atmosphere as soon as he entered the tea room. And then looking at the anxious look on the second daughter's face, I had a bad premonition for no reason. Now that we are here, housekeeper, please tell the elder what the second lady did, Mr. Xie said with a stern face. The housekeeper immediately told the story about Xie Chenai instructing his servants to embarrass Yu Bao. Xie Chenai stood aside and didn't dare to defend himself. Although his grandfather didn't care about anything, nothing that happened at home could be hidden from him. Besides, she had no intention of defending herself. She was just a wild girl with unknown origins, so it was difficult to be in trouble. Could her grandfather and father really punish herself for her? I was thinking this in my heart, but I felt a little uneasy. I always feel that my grandfather's attitude is a little bit wrong. He seemed to care too much about that girl. It was a bit of a fuss to call her father here just for such a trivial matter. What's more, isn't that girl okay? Hearing this, the eldest man of the Xie family glared at his daughter fiercely. Daughter, have you forgotten what day it is today? Xie Chenai opened his mouth and subconsciously wanted to speak out, but seeing the look on Mr. Xie's face, he did not dare to speak. Although the old man has not cared much about family affairs in recent years, his prestige has been there for many years, and there is no one in the family who is not afraid of him. Old master, Miss Lu is here. There was a knock on the door. The housekeeper went over to open the door and saw his servant standing at the door with Yu Bao. Yu Bao saw Mr. Xie being called away by the housekeeper, so when the next person went to invite her, she deliberately took a step slowly to give the family enough time to talk. The housekeeper led Yu Bao through the door. As soon as Xie Chenai saw her coming in, she immediately gave him a sharp look. It was also the first time for Xie Xing to see Yu Bao. He had sent servants to inquire about her origins. Later, he also sent people to invite her, but she was rejected. Later I heard that Lao Er also sent someone, but was also rejected. I didn't want the outside world to speculate too much, so I put the matter aside for the time being. I didn't expect that the old man would go to see the other party in person, and even invite the other party to the birthday banquet. Girl, I didn't greet the Xie family well today, and my granddaughter is not sensible. I hope you have a lot of money, so don't argue with her. Old man, I apologize to you on behalf of my granddaughter. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of Xie Xing and Xie Chenai, the elders of the Xie family, changed. Even Yu Bao had to lament that Zhang was still the boss of the Xie family. He was worthy of being the helmsman of the Xie family. His ability to bend and stretch was unparalleled. If she keeps holding on to him, it will appear that she is making a fuss out of a molehill and has no tolerance for others. Grandpa Xie is serious. I think it was Sister Xie who was joking with me. Yu Bao smiled and said. Who is your sister? Our Xie family is not something that just any cat or dog can cling to. Xie Chenai has seen too many people around him trying to please and be obedient, and looking at Yu Bao at the moment is almost the same as looking at those people. Seeing the other party open her mouth to call her sister, her face was full of disdain. Thinking about the housekeeper's attitude towards her before and the speculation that just came into her mind, she instantly lowered her face and said, "You evil girl, why don't you apologize to Miss Lu quickly?" Siesing immediately said to Siechanayu in a deep voice. The old man had shocked him just now when he opened his mouth to apologize. He could not help but breathe a sigh of relief when he saw that the other party took the initiative to hand over the steps and was willing to reconcile, but as a result, the girl offended the person to death as soon as she opened her mouth. "What? Want me to apologize to her? Why should I apologize to her? I don't want to," Siechanayu immediately exploded. She has never suffered such grievances in her whole life. She failed to teach that girl a lesson, but was forced to apologize to her. Does she want the face of the second lady of the Xie family? Humph! The old man snorted heavily, and the more he looked at his granddaughter, the more disappointed he became. Especially with Yu Bao as a comparison, he made the other party even more stupid without realizing it. Why do you think you are right? You deliberately told your servants to pour wine on the guests. What do you want to do? The Xie family raised you so much to teach you to do this, treating guests? You girl, I don't care about you. Why do you feel wronged by asking you to apologize? She's just a wild girl. What kind of guest do you think she is? Siechanayu snorted, disapprovingly. She used to bully her classmates like this in class, and her father and grandpa didn't say anything. Why wouldn't it work if it were this girl? Boss, the second girl is your daughter, you have to figure it out yourself. The old man was completely disappointed with this second granddaughter and raised her instead of teaching her father and son how to live. He has not intervened in the upbringing of the younger generations of the Gu family for a long time. Now it seems that this girl has been raised to waste after all. You evil girl, why don't you kneel down quickly? The eldest man of the Xie family glared at his daughter. Even the old man bowed his head and apologized. Could it be that she felt that her own face was more important than the old man's? Dad, are you even attracted to that girl? What's so good about her? Could it be that she is really the illegitimate daughter of you or your second uncle and third uncle? Siesing was stunned for a moment, then glared at her and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? This is the master who saved your grandfather and the savior of our entire Xie family." Siechanayu's eyes widened and she stared in the direction of Yu Bao with disbelief. "Dad, what are you talking about? The grandpa she saved? How is this possible? I don't believe it. How could Fang, who was so young and looked younger than her, be the master who saved grandpa? Masters shouldn't be all aged experts, right? That's enough. Can we still lie to you? As the second young lady of the Xie family, you actually did such a rude thing at your own birthday party. Where are your usual upbringing and rules? Why don't you apologize to Miss Lu quickly?" Siechanayu glared at Yubao fiercely. Seeing his grandfather and father staring at him, he reluctantly said, "I'm sorry." Yubao smiled at the other party and said magnanimously, "I forgive you." You. Siechanayu felt like she was holding her breath in her chest. She was slapped in the face when she failed to teach the other person a lesson. In her eyes, Yubao's expression at this moment was undoubtedly mocking her. But she couldn't do anything about it. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 152. Chapter 152. When will you grow up? She has never suffered such injustice since she was a child. Siechanayu is so angry. She was so angry. Siesing spoke at this moment. You should be lucky that Miss Lu doesn't care about you, otherwise do you think you can still stand here well? Although Siechanayu was dissatisfied, she did not dare to refute in front of Mr. Xie and her father. Just put all this debt on Yu Bao's head. Don't let her find a chance. The humiliation she suffered today will one day be doubled. Mr. Xie immediately called to Yu Bao and said, "Girl, come on, accompany me out with the old man. I'll introduce you to some old friends. Those who can be called old friends by Mr. Xie are definitely not ordinary people. This is also a disguised form of expanding her network of contacts. Yo Bao did not refuse. After all, rich people earn more money than ordinary people. Xie Chenai was so angry. She came here specifically just to go out with the old man, so everyone would naturally notice her. In the end, Grandpa wanted to take the girl with him. She didn't want to be a foil for that girl, so she stamped her feet and walked away. Shen Nei saw her coming out and immediately stepped forward and said, "Ayu, are you okay?" Xie Chenai didn't want others to know about her apology to that girl, not even Shen Nei, so she took the initiative to change the subject and said, "Sister Nei, will you accompany me up to change clothes?" Her dress was originally paired with the necklace. Now that the necklace was taken off, the dress didn't look very pleasing to her eyes. Fortunately, she had specially prepared several dresses before. "Okay. Let's go." Shen Nei saw that she avoided the topic. Although she was confused, she did not continue to ask. "Hey, it's that little girl again." It seems that Grandpa Xie really likes her. Just as he was about to leave, he saw Mr. Xie walking towards the center of the crowd with Yu Bao. Everyone standing there is a big shot who can stir up the situation in Yunjing City. This honor that should have belonged to Miss Xie's family was actually given to someone else. Shen Nei couldn't help but glance at Xie Chenai next to her. This eldest lady didn't even make a fuss. A trace of jealousy flashed in Xie Chenai's eyes, and he couldn't help but clench the hands hanging by his sides, but in the end he did nothing. Instead, he urged Shen Nei, "Sister Nei, let's go quickly." Shen Nei instantly became more curious about Yu Bao's identity. How could the old man of the Xie family pay so much attention to her and make Xie Chenai feel embarrassed? What is the origin of this girl? During this period, Shen Nei tried several times, but Xie Chenai actually didn't reveal a word. Mr. Xie's illness is a secret of the entire Xie family. Even Xie Chenai knows that this matter is not trivial and cannot be disclosed to outsiders. Shen Nei couldn't find out, so she had to give up, but she kept an eye on Yu Bao all night. Yu Bao naturally felt such an obvious glance, and his eyes met the opponent's several times. The feeling of being stared at was not good, especially because the evil spirit on the other person's body made her feel very uncomfortable. Yu Bao only noticed the Buddha amulet she wore around her neck at first. Then he carefully observed the other party's face and found that there was a faint hanging needle pattern in the middle of the other party's yintang. The palace was now dark and narrow, which showed that the other party had done a lot of evil. Things seemed to have human lives on their hands. The little ghost in the amulet is extremely vicious. Because he keeps helping the other person to do evil, the evil spirit condenses and has a tendency to be uncontrollable. Once the opponent comes out, many people will be killed. Yu Bao narrowed his eyes and then used a trick to cover up the situation and secretly took away the amulet around her neck. Looked at the amulet for a moment, then threw it into the system and left it under Xiaojin's care. Plan to deal with it later. Gu Xingzi noticed her little movement and looked sideways at her. "What's wrong?" Yu Bao immediately leaned into his ear and told him what she had just discovered. Gu Xingzi only felt a warm breath approaching, with the unique fragrance of a girl. He could touch the other person's delicate cheek with a slight tilt of his head. He liked the way this girl completely trusted him and was unprepared. The corners of her mouth raised unconsciously. As for what Yu Bao said, he didn't care. Or maybe I heard it, but it seems like I didn't. All his attention was on her soft face, and he couldn't help but reach out and poke it. Yu Bao raised his head and glanced at him in surprise. Gu Xingzi realized that he had lost his composure and couldn't help but cough lightly to cover up his embarrassment. "Tisk, when will this girl grow up?" Shen Nei didn't realize that the amulet had fallen until she got home at night. The whole person suddenly panicked. She bought the Buddha amulet during a previous trip to Thailand. I heard that people there believe in this very much, and even those who set up stalls on the roadside will worship it at home. She had vaguely heard someone mention raising a gumantung before, so she secretly asked for one without telling her family. She was skeptical at first, but later, she was in a car accident with her friend. Her friend was injured on the face and needed dozens of stitches, but nothing happened to her. From then on, she was extremely convinced of gumantung. 3 sticks of incense every night and feed with your own blood every day. Occasionally, she will ask the other party to do something for her, and she will get what she wants every time. That night, Shen Nai had a nightmare. In the dream, a child was crying and laughing at her. Crying meant she felt abandoned, while laughing was sinister. She felt like he would take revenge on her in the next second. Shen Nai was frightened out of her sleep. She felt her chest was tight and she couldn't breathe. After that, she couldn't sleep and kept her eyes open until dawn. The next day, I went to Xie's house early in the morning. Xie Chenai was woken up early in the morning and was very unhappy. He looked at Shen Nai who appeared at Xie's house early in the morning and said, "Sister Nai, why are you here so early?" Shen Nai grabbed her wrist and said, "Ayu, did you see a Buddhist amulet last night?" "What Buddha amulet?" Xie Chenai had just woken up and was still a little confused. "It's the one I always wear around my neck," Shen Nai asked eagerly. "I didn't see it." Xie Chenai shook his head. She knew that the other party wore a Buddhist amulet around his neck, and that he was always very precious and would not even be looked at. She has only seen it once in a while, but she always feels that the Buddha statues inside are very different from what she usually sees. She doesn't know why, but just looking at them makes her feel uncomfortable. I haven't paid attention to it since. Shen Nai held her hand tightly. "Ayu, can you help me ask your servants? That one is very important to me, I must find it." "Okay." Xie Chenai called the housekeeper, told him about the Buddha amulet, and asked him to help him find it. The steward immediately called the servants at home and asked them in public, but the servants all said they had not seen it. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 153. Chapter 153 Guzhengzi's Secret. Xie Chenai looked at Shen Nai and said, "You also saw that no one picked up your amulet. Could it be that it fell somewhere else?" "Impossible, I was only here yesterday." Shen Nai suddenly raised her voice. She searched for it in the car and at home, but found nothing. The only place where it might have been lost was at Xie's house. "What do you mean? Do you think the Xie family will still covet a Buddhist amulet from you?" Xie Chenai frowned, faintly unhappy. She searched and asked, but she said she had never seen him before. What else did she want to do? "That's not what I meant," Shen Nai hurriedly explained. "I was wondering, since I'm not at Xie's house, might it be picked up by the guests last night?" "How could I possibly know this? There were so many guests here last night. Do you want me to help you ask them one by one? Isn't it just a Buddhist amulet? At worst, I will give you another one." Shen Nai blurted out anxiously, "How can this be the same?" She had been feeding with blood for a long time and had established a close connection with her. Moreover, her gumantung has a bad temper. What if the other party thinks that she threw it away on purpose and gets angry and retaliates against her? This won't work, that won't work either. What do you think we should do? Xie Chenai was already in a bad mood, and coupled with the lack of sleep, the eldest lady's temper suddenly rose. Shen Nai's expression stiffened for a moment, then she apologized and said, "Ayu, don't be angry. I didn't mean anything else. I was just anxious." Xie Chenai also realized that her tone of voice was not very good. Growing up, Sister Nai had been nicer to her than her own sister. She shouldn't have lost her temper at her. Thinking of this, he hurriedly took the other person's hand and said, "I'm sorry, Sister Nai, it's my bad attitude. Don't be too anxious. I'll ask my servant to help you find it." "Well, thank you," Shen Nai smiled and said, "then I will go back first. If you find it, contact me." Okay. After coming out of Xie's house, Shen Nai's face couldn't help but darken. Over the years, in order to deepen the relationship with the Xie family, she has been coaxing Xie Chenaiu. Xie Chenaiu calls her sister, but in his heart he does not regard her as one of her own. Otherwise, he wouldn't lose his temper with her over a trivial matter. Even though she knew that the Buddha amulet was very important to her, she still refused to spend any more effort to help her find it. Thinking of this, his eyes couldn't help but become a little more gloomy. It's a pity that her amulet was lost, otherwise. Yubeo woke up after a full sleep and remembered the amulet in the system. "I took it out of the system, and as soon as I brought it in front of me to look at it carefully, I saw the lamp on the desk suddenly fell down, and the box that originally contained the candies also fell to the ground, and all the candies inside fell out, rolling around all over the place." Yobao knew that it must be the little ghost in the Buddha amulet. He squeezed it gently with his tender white hands, and the Buddha's amulet shattered. A strong yin energy emerged from the Buddha's amulet and condensed into the shape of the little ghost. On the other side, Shen Nai had just gotten off the car when she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her chest, her face instantly turned pale, and she was almost unable to stand. "Miss, what's wrong with you?" The servant who was tidying up the flower garden next to him saw this and hurriedly stepped forward to ask. "It's okay," Shen Nai had a vague feeling that something had happened to her adopted Gumantung. "Who is it? Who destroyed her amulet?" Yubeo made a trick and trapped the kid. The kid struggled and screamed, trying to escape, and even showed his sharp teeth to scare her. Yobao has even seen ghosts that are 100 times more powerful than him. Naturally, he will not be afraid of this little ghost. He took out his peachwood sword and patted it on the head and said, "Be honest, otherwise your ghost power will be completely useless." Probably because the powerful spiritual power of the peachwood sword scared the opponent, the kid gradually calmed down. Seeing that he was still sensible, Yubao stopped the formation and said, "Tell me, what bad things have you done for the opponent?" At this moment, there was a sudden knock on the door. Yubao turned around and saw Lu Zuan poking his head at the door. Seeing that she was awake, he immediately pushed the door open and said, "Little ant, you finally woke up. Tell me, what do you want from me?" This guy showed up at the door early in the morning, and he was definitely up to no good. "Hey, let me discuss something with you." Lu Zuan walked up to the front holding his cell phone. "What do you think of this skin?" "Yobao, you came to me early in the morning just to show me game skins." "Of course not," Lu Zuan smiled at her and said with a flattering look, "this is not because I have overdrawn my pocket money again this month. Since I saved money to buy buns for you when I was young, can you help me a little? The rich and generous people in the family belong to this girl." "I know." Yubeo took out his phone and transferred it to him. "Is that enough?" Lu Zuan took a look at the credit information and saw that there was more money than he expected. Enough, enough, long live my little ant. He felt that the most correct investment he had ever made in his life was to use his pocket money to buy food for her when he was a child. Yobao warned him, "Okay, you can just play games and play games. Don't forget to take the exam in a few days. Be careful if you fail the exam. My second sister-in-law will even confiscate your mobile phone." The two grew up together, and their relationship is closer than ordinary people. In addition, Yubeo is not short of money and has always been generous to his family. "Don't worry, it's just a test, it's nothing," Lu Zuan whistled nonchalantly. "Ha," Yubeo looked at him and sneered. With his attitude, She could already imagine this guy being chased around the room by his second sister-in-law and beaten up after his results came out. Not good. Suddenly, Yu Bao's expression changed. What's wrong? Lu Zuan looked at her blankly. I saw that the little ghost in the amulet took advantage of this opportunity and slipped out of the room. How dare you run? Yu Bao shouted in a soft voice, and then chased after him. At this moment, the kid escaped from Yu Bao's room and flew directly to the next door. Gu Xingzi was reading a book, when suddenly his dark eyes flashed, and his beautiful and slender fingers grabbed the kid in the air, and the kid was pinched in his hand. Wake up, wake up. Yu Bao ran in all the way and couldn't help but was stunned when he saw the kid pinched in Gu Xingzi's hand. Can you see it? Gu Xingzi looked at the kid in his hand, nodded and said, yes, anyway, sooner or later, the other party will know about it, so it's good to find out. Yu Bao looked at the little devil in his hand, then looked at him and said, since when can you see them? Gu Xingzi, probably after waking up from the car accident. Then why didn't you say anything? Xing didn't even tell her about such a big thing. I'm afraid of worrying everyone, and it doesn't affect anything at ordinary times, Gu Xing knew. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 154. Chapter 154. Maybe the fate is over. Probably because Yu Bao can catch ghosts, people around her don't have that much fear of ghosts. It's not that I'm not afraid, but I'm more accepting than ordinary people. You won't be so frightened that you scream when you see a ghost. Yu Bao didn't think much about it, and decided that the other party must have gone through hell, so he saw these things. But this is not the point. The point is why the brat who bared his teeth and claws in front of her was so good in front of Xing. Is it possible that even ghosts care about appearance these days? Yu Bao raised his mahogany sword, slapped the kid the head and said, next time you dare to run around, I'll beat you to death. The kid shook his head and looked extremely honest. What are you going to do with it? Gu Xingzi asked. Yu Bao, the evil spirit on it is very strong, and it should have helped its owner do a lot of bad things. I plan to eliminate the evil spirit on it and then send it to reincarnation. As soon as he heard that he would be sent to be reincarnated, the kid subconsciously wanted to run away, but Gu Xingzi looked at him with a light look, and he didn't dare to move for a moment. Shen Nei searched everywhere she could find the amulet, but there was no trace of the amulet. However, Xie Chenai sent her the surveillance of the birthday banquet that day. Shen Nei stared at the surveillance screen and looked back and forth several times, and finally stopped at a certain frame. In the surveillance video, the girl was holding something in her hand, which vaguely looked like her Buddha amulet. Shen Nei stood up excitedly and stared at the girl's face on the screen. The other person's appearance was not unfamiliar to her. After all, the two of them looked at each other many times on the night of the birthday banquet. That afternoon, Yu Bao came out of school and was blocked again. Is it you? Looking at Shen Nei Yu Bao standing in front of him, he was slightly surprised. She didn't go to find the other party, but she didn't expect the other party to come to her door first. Shen Nei smiled at Yu Bao, tried her best to show her demeanor as a noble lady, and took the initiative to say, hello, we met at Mr. Xie's birthday party last night. I wonder if you still remember it? I know, you are the sister who has been with Sister Xie all the time. Yu Bao decided to pretend to be dumb before he could figure out the other party's intention. Shen Nei smiled and said with a kind and friendly attitude, excuse me, did you pick up my Buddha amulet last night? If possible, could you please return it to me? It is really important to me. It's very important. Shen Nei thought that the other party just picked it up by chance, so she thought of using this method. Yu Bao was a little surprised that the other party could find her so quickly. But she had already crushed the amulet, and there was no way she could let the little ghost inside go back and continue to do evil. Yu Bao blinked and said innocently, It turns out that the Buddha amulet belongs to my sister. I'm really sorry. I accidentally broke it this morning. What did you say? Shen Nei suddenly raised her voice, then realized her gaffe, and stiffly pulled her lips and said, "It doesn't matter, can you return the fragments to me? The most important thing about a Buddha amulet is what's inside. As long as you can get it back, you might have a chance to repair it." "Ah, but I have already lost the fragment," Yu Bao blinked again, pretending to be annoyed. "How could you do this?" Shen Nei couldn't control her temper all of a sudden. She couldn't continue to pretend, revealing a face that looked a little distorted due to extreme anger, and stared at her gloomily. "No one are you told to return other people's things when you pick them up? Is this how your family teaches you to covet other people's things at a young age?" "Yo Bao, my family did teach me to return other people's things if I picked them up, but they never taught me to return them if I picked up ghosts." "What do you mean?" Shen Nei's heart beat rapidly and she tried her best to control herself and said, "I don't know what you are talking about." Yu Bao sighed, and suddenly said seriously, "Sister, you are so brave, you even dare to raise a kid." "Don't talk nonsense." Shen Nei's eyes suddenly became sharp. Even her family members didn't know about her raising Guomintang, and not many people in China knew about Guomintang. She didn't expect that the other person, who looked young, would know this. "Why are you raising a brat? I just bought a pendant to keep me safe when I went abroad to play. This girl knows the Xie family. If this matter gets spread..." Thinking of this, Shen Nei's eyes became more and more gloomy. There was a faint hint of murderous intent. "Hey, didn't sister just say that that Buddha amulet is very important to you?" Yu Bao said, pretending to be surprised. Shen Nei retracted her thoughts, slowly calmed down and said, "I have been wearing that amulet for many years, but I suddenly lost it for a while and I just didn't get used to it." "So that's it," Yu Bao said with a clear expression. "I've read in the book that Buddhist amulets are not a good thing. If my sister loses them, just throw them away." Shen Nei secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out that she had only read it in a book. She thought this girl knew something. Haha, sometimes what is said in the book may not be true. "But you are right, maybe my relationship with it is over." "It's okay, sister, if you don't blame me." Yu Bao opened his big eyes and imitated the tone of green tea on TV. Shen Nei was extremely annoyed, but she still managed to squeeze out a smile and said, "Did I scare you with my bad attitude just now? I know there is a good dessert shop in front of me, why don't I treat you to dessert? Just think of it as an apology, right?" Even though she was here and couldn't get the amulet back, Shen Nei wanted to take the opportunity to find out about her relationship with the Xie family. Seeing that the other party clearly hated her, but still pretending to be in front of her, Yu Bao simply cooperated with her acting and said, "How embarrassing. I accidentally broke my sister's Buddha amulet, and asked her to treat me to something to eat. Or should I invite you?" "Shen Nei, what's the matter? You are as big as you are, and you are the same as my sister in my eyes." Hearing that the other party specifically mentioned Xiecheniu, Yu Bao guessed what the other party was planning, smiled slightly and said, "How can I compare with Sister Xie? I think Grandpa Xie really likes you." Shen Nei probed quietly. "Yo Bao, really? Maybe it's because you think I'm cute." Shen Nei couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth. Will the former head of the Xie family treat her differently because she looks cute? Is this girl playing tricks on her? Shen Nei was holding back her anger, but couldn't get angry yet, so she immediately took her to the dessert shop. After that, she brought the topic to her relationship with the Xie family many times. It turned out that the girl was slippery and ate a lot of snacks in the end, but she didn't say a word about what she should or shouldn't have said. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 155. Chapter 155. As long as you like it. Sister Shen, Thank you for your hospitality today. The desserts here are delicious and I enjoyed them very much. Yubao smiled softly. As long as you like it, Shen Nei could see that she was really happy with her meal, but she was not that happy. I lost my Buddhist amulet and was tricked by this girl. That's right, this girl is playing tricks on her. After spending a long time eating with her, I didn't find out any useful information. Shen Nei was filled with anger, but she couldn't let it out yet. Then I'll go back first. Yubao waved to her and said goodbye. Shen Nei looked at the girl's leaving figure, with a trace of resentment flashing in her eyes. That night, Shen Nei locked the doors and windows of her room, tightened the curtains, and then carefully opened the wardrobe. I saw a doll with a face painted with charms enshrined inside. Shen Nei placed the snacks and toys prepared in advance in front of the doll, then pricked her fingertips with a needle and dripped blood on the doll's body. A strange red light flashed across the doll's body, and the blood disappeared in just a moment. After doing all this, Shen Nei began to tell the doll about her experience and mood of the day. Finally, he said to the doll, I want you to help me punish the two of them, I want them to die. The twisted face coupled with the sinister voice was particularly penetrating in this night. It turned out that Shen Nei had more than just one little ghost at home. In addition to the amulet, there is another Guman Thong. And the people she was referring to were Yubao and Siecheniu. It turned out that because of Siecheniu's previous attitude, she even hated each other. On this night, Siecheniu had nightmares all night long, and he was in a trance. This was the case for several days in a row, and she began to become suspicious, always feeling like something was following her. In the end, he refused to even come out. He locked himself in the room all day long and kept shouting that there was a ghost. Early in the morning, there were screams and the sound of smashing things in the room again, and the whole person seemed to be getting more and more crazy. Others were sitting in the restaurant having breakfast at this time. Looking at the seat where his youngest daughter was absent, Xie Xing asked the servants at home, "How is the second lady's condition?" The servant said tremblingly, "The second young lady's mood is very unstable, and the breakfast she brought in this morning was also smashed by her." Xie Xing couldn't help but frowned. The second young lady of the Xie family was suspicious and crazy all day long. If this spread, it would not only ruin the girl's reputation, but also the reputation of the Xie family would be affected. Xie Xing then looked at Mr. Xie, who was looking up, and said, "Dad, girl Yu's condition is getting worse and worse. This is not the way to go. How about asking a master to come back and take a look at her?" Mr. Xie pondered for a moment, looked up at Xian and said, "I heard that you girl can exorcise ghosts. Go and invite her to come to your house and have a look." Yes, Xian was shocked when he saw Yu Bao at the Xie family's birthday party a few days ago. Especially after hearing that the old man had met Yu Bao alone, his heart was in his throat, and he hurriedly prepared the birthday gift was replaced by the 4th grade pill in his hand. The reason why he didn't take out the 4th grade elixir at the beginning was because he was careful. After all, it was a life-saving medicine, so it was hard for anyone not to be tempted. For a while, the ghost lost his mind, so he hid it secretly. He did not expect that the old man would go to see the girl in person. I don't know if the girl told the old man about the elixir. After thinking about it, I took out the elixir. After all, the most effective speaker in this family is the old man. As long as you please the old man, you won't get any benefits. If you chill the old man's heart because of a pill, it will be more than the gain. Xian couldn't see clearly yet. When he took out the elixir and saw the old man's calm reaction, he broke out in a cold sweat. The old man had obviously known about the elixir for a long time. He had kept silent about it because he was probably waiting to see what he would do. Xian was glad that he took out the elixir at the last moment and used it as a birthday gift to make the old man happy. Otherwise, if he had to wait for the old man to bring it up, everything he had done to please the old man during this period would have been in vain. Yo Bao also noticed that there was a pair of eyes staring at her at night, but for some reason she didn't dare to get close. It was not difficult to catch the other party, but she didn't do that, just pretending that she didn't know what to do. Until the Xie family came to visit. When she saw Xian, she didn't say anything. She didn't even wait for him to explain his purpose, so she opened the car door and got in, saying to him, "Let's go." "Master Lu, do you know why I'm here?" Xian looked at her in surprise. Yo Bao didn't like to hide things, so he went straight to the point. "On the day of the birthday banquet, I noticed that the hall of the second lady of the Xie family was darkened, and bad luck was approaching. There may be something unclean involved in the past few days." Xian was secretly shocked. The other party had already guessed everything before he said anything. It seems that this girl is more powerful than he imagined. The car quickly stopped at the door of Xie's mansion. Even though it was the third time he came to visit, the servants of the Xie family were extremely respectful to Miss Lu and did not dare to show any slights. When Xian led Yu Bao in, Mr. Xie was sitting in the living room downstairs. "Hey girl, are you here?" Compared to the previous birthday banquet, Mr. Xie's attitude towards her was a little more affectionate. "Thank you, Grandpa." After the two exchanged pleasantries, Mr. Xie looked at the servants on the side and ordered, "Take your girl to see the second lady first." "Yes." Yo Bao followed the other party to Xie Chenai's room. As soon as he got close, he heard the girl's roar of collapse, go away, don't come over." The servant who led her stopped at the door, with a hint of fear in his expression, and said as if he did not dare to approach, "This is the second young lady's room." Yubeo glanced at the other party, then opened the door and walked in. I saw Siechenai with disheveled hair, sitting on the bed wrapped in a quilt, with only half of his face exposed, with deep fear on his face. As soon as he saw someone coming in, he immediately picked up the things at hand and smashed them over. Fortunately, Yubeo reacted quickly and was not hit. But I finally know the reason for the fear on the servant's face. It seems that the other party has been really frightened in the past 2 days. Perhaps it was Yu Bao's powerful koi luck that affected her. Siechenai woke up for a moment, stared at her for a while, then recognized her and said, "Why are you here?" "Of course I'm here to help you," Yu Bao said. "You, help me?" A trace of confusion and doubt flashed across Siechenai's face. "Yo Bao, yes, I can help you." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 156. Chapter 156, No Way to Escape. Siechenai immediately sat up straight, but when he thought of something, he quickly shrank back, looked around, and then looked at Yu Bao cautiously. "So, you also believe that there are ghosts in this world?" "Of course," Yu Bao said, "there are ghosts in this world, but they don't often appear in front of people." Siechenai's mood suddenly became excited. "I saw it, I really saw it, there is a ghost, he has been looking at me." She held her head, as if she was crazy. Because a pair of red eyes would appear staring at her at night, she had been afraid to fall asleep for several nights in a row. At this moment, both physically and mentally have reached their limits. Yu Bao took out a piece of talisman and placed it on the opponent's body at lightning speed. The latter's eyes suddenly opened wide, and just as he was about to speak, his body suddenly shook, and then he fainted. "How about it? Is there any way to solve the situation of my second niece?" Xian asked impatiently when he saw Yu Bao coming down from the second floor. "Yubao, yes, but not now." "Why is this?" Xian asked. Even Mr. Xie looked at her doubtfully. Yu Bao said, "It's not the little ghost who's causing trouble, but the person behind it. If we can't find this person, you won't be able to feel at ease. Don't you want to know where this troublesome ghost comes from? Xian and Mr. Xia looked at each other, and then asked, what do you mean by this? Does it mean that someone deliberately caused my niece's situation? Yu Bao, of course, ghosts never provoke people for no reason, unless there is cause and effect between the two, or they are instigated by others. I just saw that there is no cause and effect on Miss Xia. That means, was that thing that was haunting her ordered by someone else? Who wants to harm my Xia family? Xian couldn't help but slap the table and shouted loudly. Mr. Xia glanced at him. Why are you trying to show off your prestige in your own home? It's not too late to show off your prestige after you find out the person behind the scenes. Xia Anton said, I was just too angry at the moment. The old man snorted coldly, how can you solve the problem by getting angry when something happens? You are still not improving at your age. Then he looked at Yu Bao and said, we don't know who has such bad intentions towards you. I have to worry about this, girl. Grandpa Xia, don't worry, I will stay at Xia's house these 2 days and follow Miss Xia to ensure her safety and not let the other party have the opportunity to hurt Miss Xia, Yu Bao said. That's the best, Mr. Xia nodded, and then ordered his servants to pack up her place. Yu Bao's room is arranged next door to Xia Chenai's. At 12 o'clock in the middle of the night, a small figure appeared in Xia Chenai's room. Xia Chenai didn't sleep for several days in a row. He slept for more than 10 hours because of Yu Bao's sleeping charm, and didn't wake up until midnight. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw those terrifying eyes again. I wanted to scream, but found that I couldn't make a sound. Her throat was tight, but she couldn't utter a word. The whole person was wrapped in fear, and finally he rolled his eyes and fainted again. This time I was directly shocked and fainted. A few minutes later, she opened her eyes again, but her eyes were empty and unfocused, and her eyes were unfocused. Immediately afterwards, I saw her lifting the quilt and sitting up. Then he got off the bed and walked out of the room step by step. At the same time, the door to the next door also opened at this time. Yu Bao followed the other party without saying a word, watching her walk out of Xia's house step by step with bare feet. Xia Chenai walked a full 2 kilometers and came to a nearby cross-river bridge. He saw the other party slowly walking onto the bridge and climbing over the bridge railing stiffly like a machine. Standing on the outside of the bridge railing, as long as you loosen your grip, you can fall off the bridge and be submerged into the rolling river. In the darkness, a figure looked in the direction of the bridge, with a proud smile slowly rising from the corner of his mouth. Suddenly, the man felt pain in his chest and spit out a mouthful of blood. The other party's eyes widened in horror, and suddenly thought of something. He suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of the bridge. However, the person who was standing on the edge of the bridge railing just now disappeared. How could it be? Could it be that the other party has already jumped? She subconsciously wanted to walk towards the bridge, but she only took 2 steps and stopped. She didn't know why, but she felt flustered for no reason, until a sharp voice suddenly sounded in her mind, urging her to leave quickly. Her expression changed instantly. She turned around hurriedly, and planned to leave. She had just taken 2 steps when suddenly several dazzling lights shone on her face. She closed her eyes subconsciously and heard a burst of messy footsteps. At the same time, she heard someone saying, "Don't move, police." Immediately afterwards, a group of uniformed criminal police officers rushed out from all around. The mysterious man suddenly turned pale. Everyone's flashlights focused directly on the mysterious man. I saw that the other party was wearing black clothes and black trousers, a black mask covering his face, and a black peaked cap on his head. At this moment, he was raising his hands to block his eyes. With so many lights shining on him, the mysterious man panicked and subconsciously wanted to escape. But there were people all around, and there was no way to escape. The leading police officer looked at her and said, "Miss Shen, there is a murder case suspected to be related to you. Please come with us and cooperate with the investigation. Shen Nei did not expect that she could be recognized by others dressed like this, so she subconsciously covered her face and said, "You have recognized the wrong person. Ms. Shen, we have followed you from your home to now. Please cooperate with our investigation." Shen Nei's face turned pale again and again. After a long time, she slowly put down her hand covering her face, lifted her mask and looked at the other party. "Comrade police, are you making a mistake?" The latter said, "Do you know Miss Zhen Yutong?" Shen Nei nodded, "We were very good friends when she was alive." "Police, we suspect that her death was not an accident, but a premeditated murder. We have investigated her call records and found that her last call before the accident was to you. And we have obtained the surveillance of that day. It was found that you were present at the crime scene on the day of the incident. There are various signs that you have a certain relationship with her death. Please cooperate with our investigation." Shen Nei couldn't help but clench her hands hanging by her side. She was extremely flustered, but she still argued for herself, "This does not prove that her death was related to me. Moreover, the police have already closed the case. She obviously committed suicide. Zhen Yutong is her best friend who was disfigured in a car accident and required dozens of stitches. Just 3 months ago, the other party committed suicide by jumping off a building." End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, She is Soft and Sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 157. Chapter 157. You did it on purpose, right? She would appear at the crime scene just to witness the other party's suicide process. Of course, it's because Guomintang confuses the other party's mind. Only then would she follow Guomintang's instructions and jump off the rooftop, creating the illusion of suicide. Everyone thought that the other party committed suicide because she was disfigured in a car accident, but little did they know that she manipulated Guomintang to do all of this. Although the two are best friends, Shen Nei has always been jealous of each other's appearance. Even the boy she likes also likes each other. After the other person was disfigured in a car accident, she was secretly glad for a time. She thought that the other person would never be able to compete with her again, but she didn't expect that the boy still liked her and would rather be with the disfigured person than accept herself. She was overcome by jealousy and ordered Guomintang to plan the accident. The moment she saw the other party jumping off the roof, she felt extremely happy. From now on, the other party could no longer compete with her. It's just that after the death of her best friend, the boy still refused to accept her. In a rage, she ordered Guomintang to take revenge on him, causing him to have a car accident when he went up the mountain to pay homage to his best friend. He is still sitting in a wheelchair to this day. Everything was done by Guomintang. Even if the police wanted to investigate, they could not find her. What she didn't understand was why things that had been closed for several months were still being brought up. The leading police officer said, "This diary belongs to you, right? It records in detail how you instructed Guomintang to kill people." Shen Nei was shocked. The diary was obviously locked in the cabinet by her, so why did it appear in the hands of the police? The muscles on both sides of Shen Nei's cheeks trembled slightly, and she said with a stiff expression, "Comrade police, what instigated Guomintang to kill people? You don't even believe this, do you? This diary is just a novel written by me. This shouldn't be considered much evidence, right? But it also writes about how you designed and instructed Guomintang to scare Miss Ye, and how you planned for the other party to commit suicide by jumping into the river tonight." This notebook suddenly appeared at the police station, along with a letter in which it was written that someone was using Guomintang to kill people. At first they thought it was a prank, but after checking the surveillance cameras, they didn't see the person who sent the notebook. However, after reading the notebook, a colleague found that something mentioned in it was very similar to a suicide case a few months ago. Contacting that letter again made everyone in the police station have to pay attention. Based on the information mentioned in the diary, they quickly found out the owner of the diary. Although using Gumantung to kill people sounds ridiculous, the other person recorded in detail in her diary her jealousy and hatred for a person, and the entire process of instigating Gumantung to kill the other person. At the end of the diary, it was recorded that she was going to cause another accident tonight. In line with the principle of handling cases cautiously and just in case, the police station still sent a team of personnel to guard near the Shen family villa. Unexpectedly, in the early morning, I actually saw a tightly wrapped person quietly coming out of Shen's house. Shen Nai's pupils shrank. She did keep a diary. This was a habit she had developed since she was a child. What was most recorded in the diary was her jealousy of her best friend, as well as the fact that she instructed Gumantung to confuse her mind and lead her to commit suicide. Every time I open the diary I wrote, I feel like I am reminiscing and appreciating my own work. I feel strangely satisfied in the aftertaste again and again. But I didn't expect that all of this would turn out to be evidence against myself. The police also found it incredible, but just now, they saw with their own eyes that the second young lady of the Xie family, the person who was mentioned in the diary as the person who was about to have an accident tonight, actually turned out to be what was said in the diary. Came out from home in the middle of the night, intending to commit suicide by jumping off the bridge. Fortunately, they arranged for people to stay at the bridge in advance, otherwise, there would be another accident tonight. Shen Nai suddenly thought that she had just vomited blood inexplicably and the figure disappeared on the bridge. Someone must be up to something. Who is it? Who is ruining her good deeds? It wasn't until Shen Nai was taken away by the police that Yu Bao came out of the darkness. He glanced in the direction of the bridge. Xie Chenai was being helped into the police car by two police comrades, preparing to take him back to Xie's home. Then she took out a teleportation talisman, which was a purple talisman that could teleport to any designated place within 2 kilometers. In the next second, she disappeared from the same spot. Talisman papers can be divided into low-level talisman papers, intermediate talisman papers and high-level talisman papers according to their levels. The low-level talismans are yellow and white, which are for beginners and do not require a lot of thought. Intermediate talismans are available in red, blue and green. As spiritual power increases, the talismans drawn become more and more powerful. Only those who have studied Taoism for at least 3 years can draw the red talisman. Of course, Yu Bao is an exception. It only took her 3 months to learn how to draw the red talisman. High-end talisman paper is purple and black. Among the 5 talismans, black talisman paper is the most powerful, followed by purple talisman. Drawing black and purple talismans not only requires strong concentration but also powerful Taoist skills. It is difficult for ordinary people to draw talismans on black and purple talisman papers. Xie family. Mr. Xie and the 3 gentlemen of the Xie family are waiting in the living room. When they saw her coming back, they all immediately stood up and asked, "Is Yu Yetu okay?" The police have rescued her in time and should be back soon. Just as he was talking, the sound of a police car sounded outside the door. Xie Chenai was already awake now. He was so frightened when he heard that he almost jumped into the river. After returning home, I immediately hugged Xie Xing and cried loudly. The police briefly explained what happened and then left, agreeing to come back early tomorrow morning to take a statement. After they were sent away, everyone in the Xie family looked at Yu Bao and said, "Master Lu, my niece should be fine, right?" Yu Bao looked at Xie Chenai, who was crying profusely on the sofa with the eldest son of the Xie family in his arms, and said, "Give her some soothing soup and she'll be fine in a few days." She had just taken in the little ghost in the second Gumantung. Without the little ghost's entanglement, she thought she should be able to sleep peacefully. By now Xie Chenai was tired of crying and slowly calmed down. Only then did I realize that my feet hurt terribly. Mr. Xie looked at her and said, "Why don't you thank me quickly? It's thanks to her that I saved you this time." Siechenai raised his head and glared at her coquettishly. You clearly saw that I was not wearing shoes, why didn't you remind me? You did it on purpose, right? Also, you knew she wanted to harm me, why didn't you remind me earlier? Exposed her at all? Did you know I almost jumped off the bridge? Yo Bao. This is the reason why she doesn't intend to give it to the other party even though she has the talisman to calm the soul. It's better to let her drink more bitter medicine to get rid of her inner fire. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 158. Chapter 158, Destiny cannot be violated. That's enough, Mr. Xia raised the crutch in his hand and hit the floor hard, making a dong sound. The air pressure in the room instantly dropped, making people breathless. Seeing that the old man was angry, Siechenai fell silent for a moment. The others also looked uneasy, except for Yu Bao, who looked aloof from the incident. Mr. Xie stood up from the sofa, looked at Siechenai with a stern face and said, I originally thought that you would be stronger after this incident, but now it seems that you are really being crippled by your family. You are so ignorant of good and evil. It's better to let you jump off the bridge to avoid causing greater trouble to my Xie family in the future. Mr. Xie, who was on the side, said hurriedly, Dad, don't be angry. I will take care of her strictly from now on. Mr. Xie-san, Xie Yuan, cleared his voice and said, Ayu, it's not Uncle San who is blaming you this time. You did something wrong indeed. Master Lu did not care about the mischief you caused at the birthday banquet last time, and he didn't care about the past grudges. I came to save you, it's just that you don't know how to be grateful, but you actually say bad things to me, it's really a bit ungrateful. Siechenai felt aggrieved and resentful when she saw that everyone was criticizing her, but she did not dare to refute loudly. She only lowered her head and admitted her mistake, Grandpa, I was wrong. I'm not the one you should apologize to, the old man said solemnly. Siechenai bit her lower lip and looked at Yu Bao unwillingly, I'm sorry, I shouldn't lose my temper with you. What else? The old man's expression softened a little, and he was not too hopeless at last. Siechenai, thank you for saving me. Even though she was unwilling to do so, she could only endure it in front of the old man and other elders. Yu Bao, there's no need to thank me. I only saved you for Grandpa Xie's sake. I hope you can behave yourself in the future. Those who do evil will inevitably die. Shen Nai's fate is the best example. I hope he won't be like her. Mentioning Shen Nai, Siechenai's expression suddenly turned gloomy and said, that thing that is pestering me was really instigated by Sister Nai. When they were in the police car, the policeman briefly told her what happened. Until now, I still can't accept that these things are related to Shen Nai. Obviously she has always regarded the other party as her close sister, and she would tell and share with her whatever is on her mind. She couldn't understand why the other party treated her like this. If you want to know, you can ask her in person. What she thinks is probably only known to her. As for you, you should be glad that you didn't do anything more stupid. Otherwise, the cycle of cause and effect will be me. I can't save you either. Aren't you very powerful? You can even save Grandpa. What else can't you do? Siechenai hummed, with a hint of ridicule in his tone. Sure enough, within 3 sentences the other party's nature was revealed. Yu Bao did not argue with the other party. After all, there is no point in being serious with some people. The reincarnation of heaven means retribution. As long as the things you have done will come back to you one day, even I can't completely change one's destiny. The destiny cannot be violated. This is also said to the rest of the Xie family. If you do something wrong, you must be punished accordingly. Even she cannot help people change their fate every time. She is fine this time. I can only say that she did not deserve to die. But you are not so lucky every time. The Xie family members had different expressions on their faces. I wonder if they understood the hint in Yubeo's words. Finally, I heard Mr. CS say, "It's very late, let's go and rest first. If you have anything to say, wait until tomorrow." After saying that, he looked at Yubeo again. "Thanks to you, girl, you saved the old man today. I saved Yu Yetu's life again, and I will be our Xie family's great benefactor." Finally, he looked at Xie Xing again. The latter immediately took out a bank card and said, "There are 10 million yuan here, which is a little thought from our Xie family." Yo Bao took the bank card. She originally used the money to eliminate disasters, but 10 million yuan was like this to the Xie family. It's not too much for people. The person was rescued and the matter was resolved. Seeing that it was almost dawn, everyone went back to their rooms to rest. At this time, Yubeo was afraid of going back and disturbing the rest of the family, so he planned to stay at Xie's house for one night and wait until dawn. Lu Yu on the way back to the room, Xie Chenai suddenly stopped her and said angrily, "Don't think that because you saved me this time, I will be grateful to you. Don't forget that you have already accepted my father's money. Even if we are settled, no one owes me anything, and you can never think of yourself as my savior." "You are thinking too much," Yu Bao said. "I saved you purely for the sake of the Xie family, and I never expected you to be grateful. There is a high probability that we will never meet again in the future, so you are worried. No need to. You." When the other party said this, she seemed ungrateful and sentimental. Xie Chenai's face turned blue and purple, and finally he snorted coldly, "It's best like this." Then he took the lead in the room and closed the door heavily. As for Yubeo, he didn't take the other person's attitude to heart at all. It's not worth getting angry with such a person. In the future, someone will teach her how to be a good person, so there is no need to be herself. Early the next morning, before the police came to take a statement, Yubeo said goodbye to Mr. Xie and returned to his home. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Mr. Lu sitting in front of the hall. When he saw her, he looked distressed and said, "My dear, let me see Grandpa. Why do I feel like I have lost weight? Did I not sleep well outside? Really? Have I really lost weight? It must be because the bed outside is not as comfortable as at home." Yubeo immediately held his face and cooperated with the old man. The old man immediately felt more and more distressed and said, "I told you that you, a girl, don't have to work so hard at home. You can just go to school peacefully. With your uncle, your father, and your cousins, there is no need for you to go out and earn money at such a young age." "Money? Grandpa, I'm not just here to make money, have you forgotten?" For fear that the old man would change his mind and not let her go out, Yubeo immediately changed his expression from miserable to cute. "Grandpa has not forgotten. Grandpa just loves you. At such a young age, he is busier than your uncles." The old man looked at his granddaughter and sighed. There is just such a little princess in the Lilu family. She was supposed to be held in the palm of her hand and grow up without any worries, but instead she ended up dealing with ghosts and ghosts all day long at a young age. The old man couldn't help but feel sorry for his granddaughter when he thought about this. Yo Bao also knew that the old man felt sorry for her. Although everyone in the family did not agree with her doing such a dangerous thing, no one really stopped her, and everyone gave her maximum freedom. Yubeo was grateful in his heart. He stood close to the old man and coaxed in a soft voice, "Yubeo likes it, so it doesn't feel hard. Grandpa must also hope that Yubeo can do what he likes, right?" The old man saw through her thoughts at a glance, reached out and touched her forehead and said, "Don't worry, as long as you want to do something, your family will support you, but you must remember to ensure your own safety. In addition, there is one more thing that Grandpa wants to tell you." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 159. Chapter 159 Engagement Token. You, the old man saw through her thoughts at a glance, stretched out his hand and tapped her on the forehead. Don't worry, as long as it is what you want to do, your family will support you, but you must remember, you must ensure your own safety. In addition, there is one more thing that Grandpa wants to tell you. What's the matter? The old man suddenly became so solemn, making Yubao a little nervous. The old man took out an ancient jade, handed it to Yubao and said, "This is what your Grandpa Gu brought. You put it on." Yubao can tell at a glance that this is an ancient jade, and the quality of the jade is excellent. It is a rare mutton fat white jade. Ancient jade is an auspicious object that brings good luck and avoids evil. But why did Grandpa Gu give her a jade if he was so good? Silly girl, this is a token of your engagement to the Gu family boy, the old man said slowly. Engagement? Sing and Yubao was stunned, and his first reaction was, Grandpa doesn't agree. Mr. Liu, your Grandpa Gu said that he is willing to give you half of the shares of the Gu family's company as a betrothal gift. Yubao, so Grandpa sold me for money. Mr. Liu said with a straight face, nonsense, your grandfather and I are like that, but after all, it was half of the property of the old Gu family next door, so it was hard not to be moved. The old man said sternly, if it weren't for the good relationship between you and that boy from the Gu family, and the Gu family sincerely wanted to appoint you as their granddaughter-in-law, Grandpa would not have agreed to that annoying old man next door. The most important thing is that this girl will be in trouble in the future. If she marries next door, she can see her every day, and she doesn't have to worry about being bullied when she goes to someone else's house. This alone is better than many people. The Gu family is willing to give half of their family property as a betrothal gift, which can be said to be full of sincerity. In addition, the child next door, whom he has been watching, has already shown extraordinary performance at a young age, and will definitely be the best in the future. The key point is that the two children have a good relationship. Most people may not be able to accept the fact that their precious granddaughter has to deal with those things all day long. Only this kid will not mind after seeing her grow up. After considering so many considerations, he agreed to get engaged for the two children. Mr. Gu has never given up the idea of getting married in these years, and the betrothal gifts have been increasing every year. This has finally impressed his future in-laws. Mr. Gu was heartbroken to give half of his family property, but when he thought that his eldest grandson's life was saved by the other party, it would not be an exaggeration to give the entire Xie family to her. What's more, it's just half of the family property. He believes that with the abilities of his eldest grandson and future grandson-in-law, the Gu family will only accumulate more family property in the future. But, I'm still young, is it too early to get engaged now? Yubao blinked. You don't like to wake up? Mr. Liu asked. The figure who had just reached the gate of Lu's house suddenly paused. Yubao shook his head and said, I like it, but I also like my grandparents, uncles, aunts, father, mother, cousins, nephews, and my godfather and godmother. They are all Yubao's family. The old man understands, but he hasn't yet figured it out. Same, although this girl is in junior high school, she is actually only in the grade of elementary school. However, the relationship between the two children who grew up together is definitely not that different. The Gu family boy is a good guy. If you don't decide on someone early, he might be snatched away by someone else in the future. Are you willing? Thinking about how many girls in school confess their love to Xing every day, what Grandpa said seems to make sense. Yubao shook his head, I don't want to. Gu Xingzi couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he walked to the door. So, we have to settle on the person first, so we don't have to worry about him being snatched away by others. Mr. Liu was tempting, and then changed the subject. Of course, when you grow up, if you find that you don't know each other, it's appropriate. Grandpa won't force you to be together, so the engagement party will be held until you are 18. He doesn't want his precious granddaughter to be wronged. If the two children have other ideas in the future, he won't give up. Use this old face to cancel the engagement for her. At the door, Gu Xingzi's heart that had just been put down couldn't help but feel anxious again. Thinking that the whole family of the Lu family is crazy about protecting little girls, his idea of trapping her by his side through betrothal might not work. However, he keeps an eye on his grown-up daughter-in-law, and no one else can take her away. At this time, Yubeo also noticed Gu Xingzi at the door, and couldn't help but run towards him with the ancient jade. Xing, are you here? Look, this is Grandpa Gu's token of engagement for the two of us. Thinking about how not long ago she had pretended to be the other person's fiancé, I didn't expect that the lie would become true so quickly. Yobao has no idea about getting engaged, probably because Mr. Gu talks about his future granddaughter-in-law every day, and everyone in the community regards her as his little daughter-in-law, so she is used to it. As for what would happen after the engagement, she had never thought about it. In her understanding, after getting engaged, she will get married and stay together like her parents for the rest of their lives. She and Xing have grown up together since childhood. The two of them have stayed together longer than anyone else. There seems to be nothing wrong with staying together for the rest of their lives. This girl doesn't care much about anything else except food and Taoism-related matters. Gu Xingzi knew in his heart that this girl didn't understand love yet. Otherwise, he would not help others give him things. But fortunately, this girl is not opposed to getting engaged, so that's good. As for the other things, he will slowly teach her. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, Yubeo, Gu Xingzi, and Lu Zuan are all already high school students. Under the pressure of the two university tyrants, Lu Zuan reluctantly entered the same high school as the two of them. Hey, your fiancé is playing a game with your nephew, are you really not going to watch it? During the last self-study period in the afternoon, there were only a few people left in the classroom, and everyone went to watch the game. What's there to see in a sure-win game? Yubeo was finishing the questions and said without raising his head when he heard the words. Tisk, does this count as Versailles? Su Qinju and Lu Yu are junior high school classmates. Although they are not in the same class, Su Qinju pays special attention to this pair of campus celebrities because of their similar names. You know, the news that the two had arranged to have a baby kiss spread throughout the campus. In high school, I happened to get into another school and became classmates. Su Qinju came to her side and said, I just saw a lot of girls from other classes and some seniors there. They all went to your family, so don't worry. What are you worried about? Lu Yu asked, raising his eyes. Su Qinju, are you worried that they will be courteous to your family? For example, delivering water or towels. Lu Yu, he won't pick it up. Tisk, I really like your aura of as long as I don't die, you will be the concubine after all. End of this chapter. Group Pet Koi Little Baby, she is soft and sweet. Author, Pearfish. Chapter 160. Chapter 160. This is literally killing her. Su Qinju held her face in her hands and sighed, I really envy you too. You are so blatant in your love affair. Even the teachers and parents support it. You two should be the only ones in the whole school, right? It's okay, it was because she pretended to be Gu Xingzi's fiancé, but somehow the whole school knew about it. The school also talked to the parents. It was Mr. Gu who came from Gu's house, and her mother who came from her house. I don't know how to tell the school. Anyway, the school has turned a blind eye to the two people's affairs since then. After entering high school, because many of their classmates were from the previous junior high school, not long after the school started, rumors about their relationship spread again. Stop writing, come and see with me. Su Qinju held her arm and shook her gently. Lu Yu took a look at the remaining homework. Well, there is still a little left. I should be able to finish it at night. He put down the pen and stood up and said, "Let's go." Su Kinju immediately cheered and pulled her towards the playground. He kept urging her along the way, hurry up, they are probably almost done with the first half." I have to say that the girl's estimate was quite accurate. When the two of them arrived, they happened to be in time for the intermission. I saw a group of girls surrounding Gu Zingzi, handing him water. But he didn't answer anyone. Lu Yu and Su Kinju arrived relatively late. There were already 3 floors outside the stadium, and most of them were girls. The two of them couldn't squeeze in for a while, but they could catch a glimpse of Gu Zingzi surrounded by girls. Su Kinju bumped the deer next to her with her elbow and said, "Look, I'll tell you that Tang Monk's meat fell into the silk hole when you weren't at your house." Lu Yu smiled, "This analogy is quite appropriate. Let's go, I'll take you in to rescue your man." After saying that, he pulled her and squeezed in. "Who? What are you squeezing for?" Suddenly there was a complaint in my ears. After finally squeezing to the front, I heard a grumpy female voice saying, "Who is it? You must be sick. My clothes are all stained." Well. Su Kinju and Lu Yu quickly raised their heads and saw standing in front of them. The girl was holding an unscrewed bottle of mineral water in her hand. It seemed that he was also planning to deliver water to Gu Zingzi, but I don't know whether he was rejected or because he couldn't squeeze in front of him. All in all, he seems to be in a very unhappy mood. The two of them accidentally bumped into each other when they were squeezing out of the crowd. The water in the latter's bottle spilled out and splashed on his clothes. Not much, just a few drops. In this kind of weather, it will be dry in just 5 minutes. However, when he caught up with the other party, he was in a bad mood, so he happened to hit the muzzle of the gun, and immediately caught the two of them and had a fit. I'm sorry, Su Kinju apologized hurriedly. The latter raised her head and glared at the two of them. When she saw Lu Yu next to her, her face turned visibly uglier. She snorted coldly and said, "Sorry, what's the use? This is a limited edition, I only wore it once, it was ruined by you two, and I can't wear it anymore. What do you think I should do?" Su Kinju stared at the clothes she was wearing and said, "Well, wasn't it just a little watery? It shouldn't be that serious, right? Why can't it be worn?" The girl said with a straight face, "Don't you know that the clothes of this brand cannot be stained with a little water? They may fade if they are stained with water." "But that's right, how can people like you who wear street clothes know this?" Su Kinju has never heard of such clothes. Okay, maybe she is really ignorant. She raised her head and stared at the water stain carefully and said, "But it still looks good and hasn't faded." The girl snorted coldly, "Just because it doesn't fade now, doesn't mean it won't fade after it dries." "Then what do you want us to do?" Su Kinju could see that the other party was clearly deliberately looking for trouble. The girl said in a condescending tone, "You ruined my clothes, shouldn't you be the one to give me an explanation?" Gu Zingzi on the other side saw Lu Yu and the conflict between her and other girls. When he was about to come over, he was stopped by Lu Zuan, who was next to him, and said, "My little aunt can handle this little thing by herself. It's better not to go there, it will affect her." Gu Zingzi paused for a moment before hearing Lu Yu say, "I'll pay for the price of your clothes." The girl raised her chin and said, "This is a limited edition of my brand. Can you afford to pay for it?" "Lu Yu, don't worry, I will definitely be able to afford the compensation. Okay, I bought this dress for 29,999. I'll give you a discount and pay me 29,000, the girl said, taking out her phone and clicking on the payment code. "Pay it." There were murmurings all around. Some of them sympathized with Lu Yu and Su Kinju, thinking that they were so unlucky that they would have to pay so much money just for splashing a few drops of water on other people's clothes. Some people felt that the two of them deserved it, but they had to squeeze in. Su Kinju. She was wrong, she shouldn't have invited Liu Yu to watch some game just now. This is not watching the game, this is simply killing her. More than 29,000 yuan, even if she sold it, she wouldn't be able to compensate her enough. Looking at Su Qingjia's regretful and troubled expression, the girl twitched her lips sarcastically and said, "That's right. I guess you guys don't carry that much money with you. It's time to call your family and ask for money now. Of course, it doesn't matter if you really can't afford the compensation, just say sorry to me 100 times. 100 sorries are a bit excessive, but compared with 29,000, it doesn't seem so unacceptable." Su Qingjia turned to look at Liu Yu, tugged on her clothes, and whispered, "How about we apologize to her? Well, I accidentally bumped into the other person just now. You don't have to say anything, I just apologize. I heard Yubeo say, no, 30,000 yuan has just been transferred to you. I don't know when." The other party had already clicked on his mobile phone to scan the QR code to pay. The girl glanced at her suspiciously, and then turned the phone interface to herself. There was indeed a payment message. 30,000 yuan is not a penny more than a penny, but I didn't expect that the other party could actually come up with so much money. Okay, since we've lost money, let's forget about it. The girl felt a little regretful that she couldn't force the other party to apologize in public, but when she thought about making the other party pay 30,000 yuan, she couldn't help but feel proud at the corner of her mouth. I immediately put away my phone and turned around to leave. "Wait a minute," Liu Yu called to the other party. "Is there anything else?" the girl asked impatiently. "I've already given you the money. Can the clothes you're wearing now be considered mine?" Liu Yu said unhurriedly. End of this chapter.